Hello there. Now, I know most of my usual videos are about wild camping, bit of underground exploring, bit of train travel. So, I could imagine you thinking, what's he making a video on sewing machines for? Well, believe it or not, wild camping, a lot of other outdoor activities and sewing go together really well. Over the last 20 years I've made countless bits of kit for wild camping, for family camping with this little machine. I've made pole sacks, peg sacks, stuff sacks, ground sheets, modified rucksacks. I've made all sorts with this simple little machine. Let me show you a closer view of the machine. So this is a closer look at my Singer sewing machine. Very old this. Now if you look down there, you've got a serial number. So all you have to do is put that in on the Singer website and it brings up loads of information. I found out that this machine, it was made in 1906. It's a Singer 28K. The K stands for the fact it was made at, I think it's Kilbooney, Clydebank, Scotland. And to think it's 110 years old, it still works perfectly. I think you can say with this, it definitely came with a lifetime guarantee. Now this little machine belonged to my mum, my grandparents before that. So you can probably say between the years of say 1920 right through to the 1960s, this machine, it clothed my family and it probably provided all their home furnishings, because they'll have made like curtains and stuff like that themselves. I can remember when me and my brother, we'd only be about 7 or 8, my mum had probably been making some curtains or something like that, and we had to take it in turns to wind the handle. Child labour, that's what that was. Mind you, it wasn't as bad. Later on she got this knitting machine and oh dear, that was hard work pushing that. But I've sort of got used to using this over the last 20 years. I tend to wind it with one hand, and I've got used to feeding the material through with my other hand. So it is a bit slow. You can alter the stitch length so it's got that, but it ain't got a reverse. So say you were starting doing a bit of sewing, you've got to reverse it and then come forward again to lock the thread in. With this I had to move all the material around, do a couple of stitches, move it back round and then set off. So it did have its limitations, and being a domestic machine, it wouldn't go through thick layers. It was very tough and it would go through a couple of layers of cordura or something like that, but say 3 or 4 layers and a layer of webbing on top, it wouldn't tackle that. I don't think many domestic machines will. So I've got a couple of interesting projects to sew up associated with wild camping over the next month or so, and it is going to involve sewing through several layers of thick material. So I've decided to invest in a semi-industrial machine. So if you follow me down to the other end of the garage, I'll show you my new machine. So this is my semi-industrial sewing machine. It's a Singer again. It's a model 188K, again made in Scotland. A little bit more modern now. 1963, this model. I bought it on eBay. It was £102, and for that I got the frame, the machine, everything. I did strip it down. I got some industry grey paint from Halfords, sprayed all the frame up, so I got it back into nice condition. Now, it's got a 1 horsepower motor mounted underneath. So you just switch that on. So that's the motor spinning. To drive the machine, well, that motor has got a clutch in it. So you depress this treadle, that'll engage the clutch and the machine's off. So that's basically how it works. It's got this device here, that's called a knee lifter. You can press your knee against it and it lifts up the foot, so you've got your hands free. So a great bit of kit, but there was one problem. It was too fast. It was, once you set it going, it was like out of control. I'm not an experienced sewer. I've done a bit with hand winding, but not much with electric. So it was far too fast for me. I don't make a lot of gear, but I want to be able to go through heavy fabrics. So I had a problem. I needed to slow the machine down. Well, I've come up with 4 methods to slow it down, and I'm going to go through those with you now. He slowed the machine down and made it a lot more controllable. So I'll show you those now. So we're looking under the machine at the end of the clutch motor. That is the existing 100mm diameter pulley that was on. So to reduce the speed, it's very easy to fit a smaller pulley. Just a matter of putting a 22mm socket on, whacking that releases a nut. I put this, what is a 40mm pulley on, bought that on eBay for about £5, and that immediately probably reduced the speed but probably over 50%. So simple. So that's the first modification. This is the second modification. We're looking under the machine at the motor again. This bar here, the existing clutch motor mechanism bar actually finishes about there. This bar here was reversed, so it went straight up there. So once you operated the treadle, there wasn't much sensitive control over this clutch bar. So it was either, as soon as you press the pedal, boom, you were up to full speed, it were running. It wasn't very sensitive. So what I've done, I extended the clutch operating rod. This is a piece of 1 inch angle, 1 inch being 1/8 angle. Just a matter of drilling 2 holes in it. Another hole in here. I reversed this operating bar, put the linkage up here. I did put a couple of rubber bands on to help it return, but that made the clutch a lot more sensitive and a lot more easy to control. So you apply a little bit of pressure and it slowly picked up speed. So that was my second modification. I still had problems where, it probably due to lack of experience, if I slowed down, when I touched the treadle again, it were off again a bit too fast. It was still a little bit uncontrollable. But I have got some other mods, so we'll move on to the next one. So we're looking underneath the back of the treadle, underneath the machine. Now I found, once I was sewing, I got a nice steady rhythm and it was going along lovely. And then you might slow down for a corner or something. And then when I picked back up, it was always a bit erratic. It was probably my inexperienced clutch control. But I found an easy way around it. If you could imagine like an idler screw on an old carburettor. No, that might not mean an awful lot to a lot of people. So basically, I bolted, this is a piece of 2B1 3mm box steel. You could probably use a piece of timber or just a piece of bar. So that's bolted to the frame. It comes underneath the back of the treadle. I then put a bolt through, locked it off with 2 nuts. So I can slacken a nut off with the spanner and wind this screw up and down. So in that position, if I put my foot straight down like that, I've set it at a nice steady speed that is controllable, and then obviously release it again and then set off again, and that I got that exact same speed. So I found it an easy way of controlling the speed. If for some reason you want it back to normal speed, just slacken the nut off, wind the screw right down, and then this will go all the way back down, engage the clutch fully, and you're off at normal speed. I dare say be restricting it a bit. I am probably slipping the clutch, but I've just changed my son's clutch and gearbox, so if I did have to change the clutch in this motor, it ain't going to be a big problem. But I'm sure they're well over-engineered, and it isn't going to affect it too much. I'm not going to be sewing every day or anything like that. Anyway, I'll show you how it sews with this sort of idler screw in place. So I'm going to show you how it sews with those 3 modifications in place. So we'll start that's the motor running. This is a seam guide I made. It keeps stitching parallel to the side. That's a seam guide you can buy. It's magnetic, which is good, but it's a little bit small. So I made that out of a few pieces of scrap aluminium. So I can lift the foot up with my knee, put the material in, foot back down. So it's just a matter of going forward a few stitches, then back. That locks the stitch in, and we're at a nice steady pace. I can come to a halt, pick that speed straight up, and just lock the stitch in at the other end. If I hadn't done the modifications, this would have been going about 3 times as fast. It isn't so bad if it's just a straight run, but if I found it very difficult. I'm happy to have it like this. Now, I've just one more modification to show you, and they say the oldest are the best, so I'll move on to modification 4 now. Just take this out. As you can see, the stitching is nice and parallel, so it would provide a nice neat seam. Right, we'll have a look at the next mod now. So this is modification 4, if I can call it a modification. Now, at the start I said I was used to a hand winder. I'd used that for the last 20 years. Well, the beauty of this machine is you can fit a hand winder. It's as easy as this. I've got to take off the drive belt. So that's the drive belt removed, and these, you can buy these, I think they are China. It's a bit rattly and a bit loose, but they were 18 quid, free postage. And that will fasten on this, it'll fasten on this machine. I'm sure it fits a lot of other Singers. I'm not sure about different makes. But I will try and get an original Singer one. I'm sure there'll be a scrap machine somewhere and I'll get one off it. But that's on there. That locates in there. And that has now transformed this machine into a hand winder. And I can sew as slow as I want. I'll show you around this other side. So we've got the hand winder fitted. Lift the foot up. I'm going to alter position of the seam guide. I'll move it in a bit. Foot down, and we can set off sewing as slow as we want. You can literally watch every stitch go in. You obviously haven't got the speed, but sometimes it's the accuracy, not necessarily the speed that I want. Now, one thing I didn't do was lock the stitch in. I've got to reverse it to do that. While I'm holding the material, I can hold the reverse down. It will then reverse, and then I can set off. I have locked the stitch in there. Now I did have to do a slight little modification to get that to hold the reverse down, which I'm going to show you in a second. But I'll show you again. I sort of come up and put it in reverse, reverse it, release it, forward again, and that would have locked the stitch in it if that was the end. Stitch locked in. I'll show you what I did to get the reverse to hold. On this type of machine, if you want to engage reverse, you just pull that lever down. So while it's being driven under the power of the electric motor, you can just set off sewing, flick it down, reverse, let it go, you've locked the stitch in and you're off. When you're using the hand winder, it's a little bit different. One hand's there, one hand is on the material. So I found what I could do is, say, set off forwards, you can catch the reverse under there, do reverse to lock the stitch in, release that, carry on forward. And that seemed to work perfectly. All that is a piece of wire coat hanger. I've wrapped it round a bolt, secured that in the base plate and just bent the top over. So it holds the reverse in position as and when required. As simple as that. Well, that's my 4 modifications, 5 with that, 4 modifications for making the industrial machine a bit slower and more controllable. I now have a semi-industrial sewing machine that'll go through 3 or 4 layers of cordura, probably 3 or 4 layers of webbing with ease and in a controlled manner. So that'll give me the ability to make several items of outdoor gear. Now I have got a couple of very interesting sewing projects associated with wild camping, but you'll have to wait until my next video to see them. It'll all be revealed then. If you're interested in probably making a few bits of outdoor kit yourself, don't get hold of your wife's all singing fancy multi-stitch very expensive sewing machine tonight, because you'll most likely bust it. It won't go through the thick outdoor gear, outdoor fabric. What you want to do is buy yourself an old machine like an old Singer. It's made solid cast iron. It'll go through all sorts, and if you did break it, it doesn't matter. There's loads of spares available. Well, there are with the Singers, and I'm sure all the others have them as well. So, if you are a sewer, hope you found this interesting. If you've got any advice or tips, I'd love to hear from you. Please leave me some comments. If you are a wild camper like myself, have a look on eBay tonight. See what you can find. Get on with making yourself some outdoor gear. You'll find it interesting. Great winter projects they are. So on that, I'll see you on the next video, which won't be long. And again, thanks for watching. See you then. Bye then.